Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with director Justin Dix, and I'll be interviewing director-actor Matthew McCray. Director, producer, writer Justin Dix was born and raised in Australia. He established an award-winning special effects studio called Wicked of Oz in the historic town of Williamstown. Wicked of Oz has garnered awards for prosthetic makeup, animatronic, did I say that right?
Yeah,
animatronic characters, miniatures, props, and set pieces for feature films, TV, and exhibition, which I thought was kind of interesting, the exhibition industry. How did you get started in these special effects?
Well, basically, I've always been doing it as a kid, so I've always dabbled on Halloweens and everything like that. Halloween here is fantastic and big, and it's celebrated as almost a holiday, whereas in Australia it's not, but I've always followed Halloween.
Oh.
And so I've always done my friends up in makeup and zombies as a child, but who knew I could make a living out of it, so now I do.
But you never went to college to learn any of these tricks.
No, I'm self-taught, so yeah, self-taught essentially because I'm not really good at anything else, so I can basically, I can draw and I can put makeup on people and I can build sets, so,
But how did you learn all that?
Pretty much just by doing it.
Was anyone in your family in theater or
No, actually
show business?
my dad's a military man, and my mum's a nurse. So
Well, that doesn't work, does it?
No, not really. No. No, I guess.
So it was all in your own imagination?
Yeah. I think I find it quite hard living in my own head sometimes, so I really have to try and just put it all out there.
Did you do it in school? Were you encouraged by your teachers
Very
in
much,
school?
Yeah, very much so encouraged, but at the same time I ended up going beyond the lesson plans, so I had to actually ended up running some of the art classes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so I
As a teenager?
Well, I did. I left school early. I'm not sure what I left in year 11. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, year 11 doesn't finish. We finish at year 12.
Right. You could go on to year 12, but I actually didn't go on to year 12 because I just didn't feel that school actually offered me as much.
Oh, so you just quit school?
I pretty much left and went straight into making stuff. So yeah.
But where'd you get a job?
Well, funny enough, I actually got a job. I wanted to join the film industry. This is as a young man. So
and where was it? Melbourne?
Melbourne, but I was 18 years old and I got a job working in the cinemas, and I thought that was as close as the.
Oh, in the movie house?
Yeah, like it's tearing tickets and stuff. But I felt like I was part of the industry.
Yeah.
And it was I got free movies, and I felt like I was part of the end part of the process.
Yeah.
And but what happened is I think Jurassic Park or something was about to come out. And I said, they knew that I tinkered and played with things and did special effects, and they said, do you want to build us a dinosaur? So I actually built them a full-size T-Rex.
No.
And from there,
because they were going to be filming the movie,
I built the T-Rex for the foyer of the cinema.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So when they were showing the film, you had your T-Rex there.
And then another movie came up, and they asked me to make something else. I went, well, this time I'm going to charge you. So
oh, you mean you did?
No, I didn't charge them for the first one.
There.
Yeah, so that's when I actually ended up leaving the cinemas and then started doing.
What was the second one?
I got a feeling it was another dinosaur or something.
Something like that?
Sure. Yeah, it was something.
But how did you build it?
I actually carved it out of polystyrene, and then I painted it and did all the scales, so I just taught myself how to. I just figured it was not lightweight, and it was.
Oh, it was lightweight, of course. You didn't build it with.
But it looked pretty real. It looked pretty real, and everyone was pretty
not
impressed.
With wood and
no, it was
wire.
It was kind of more just big, massive blocks of polystyrene. So yeah.
Okay, so then what happened?
Well, I basically just started getting into exhibition, as you were saying, and I've actually.
What is exhibition? Because I thought that was pretty interesting to go.
Yeah.
You never think of exhibition coming out of the film or theater kind of.
Well, I've always done sort of like stage shows, or I've dabbled in almost everything creative. I've designed stage shows for casinos or just theatre and things like that. I've designed. I'm a bit of a theme park junkie. I love Disney and Universal.
Oh.
So I ended up designing a ride for, not a ride, it's more of a, it was a exhibition, but it was a scary exhibition for Universal Studios Japan. So I built that in Melbourne and took it over to Japan. So that was fantastic. But exhibition-wise, I was like 2 years ago, I've been the art director for World Expo. That's in China every 4 years. It's like
You go to China?
Well, yeah, I was just in China for 5 months, and I was the art director for the Australian Pavilion. So, which means I designed everything that went inside it.
So what goes inside of it?
It's hard to explain, but in this one we did. I did one for Japan. I was also the one 4 years prior to that for Japan. We made a giant platypus, like giant platypus. You know what a platypus is?
Platypus, yeah.
Yeah,
It's an
animal.
Animal.
Yeah, it's like a beaver. With
like
a
a beaver, yeah, with a
with
big
a duck bill, yeah. So we made a giant one.
Oh,
of
so
those.
that's like they exhibit things in their pavilions.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
it's to encourage tourism and things like that.
I see.
So,
I see.
yeah.
And so for Australia.
Well, we did basically for Australia. I've done all sorts of things like that, but what ended up happening is I ended up making the world's largest themed nightclub. A themed meaning I made it look like an Indiana Jones temple, and it was huge. It was massive. It was just this huge endeavor. It took me 4 years to build it for this guy. To build
4 years?
Yeah, design and build it, and it was massive. It was like based on Indiana Jones. Anyway, a couple of weeks before it was to open, it burnt down to the ground.
No.
Yeah. No one got to see it. So that's when I was watching this Aztec temple burn, and I was going, I think I might join the film industry.
You were going to move it into the exhibition hall?
Well, no. What happened is
it was part of the exhibition hall.
No, it was a separate entity, a separate
nightclub.
It was
a nightclub. It was a total nightclub.
But it was massive. It was huge, just huge. I've never seen anything bigger than it. And it was like something out of Vegas. And I ended up deciding at that point when it burnt down to the ground and nobody got to see all that hard work for 4 years, I thought I'll move into the film industry, and 2 months later I was on Star Wars. So
tell us about Star Wars. You worked with Star Wars, you worked with Lucas, you worked with Roger Donaldson.
Roger Donaldson, yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the Star Wars. You made that robot?
Yeah, R2 and 3PO.
You made that robot?
Yeah.
How long does it take to make a robot?
A couple of months.
That's all?
Well, it depends on what you're doing, really. It depends if it's for designing from scratch or what you have to do. And I was very fortunate and very lucky to work on Star Wars because I was almost given quite a bit of autonomy, meaning that I was actually able to given free rein to kind of create what I wanted to. They didn't have any designs. They
didn't have a robot.
No, they did, but I got to change and make things the way I wanted to do. So.
And you did it all in Australia?
Yeah, in Sydney, Australia. So
in
that was
Sydney.
Fantastic. Yeah, that was
and
really good.
They weren't filming there, though.
Yeah.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, they shot episode 2 and 3 there.
That's why they came to you.
Yeah.
I wondered how you were doing it across the water.
No. That was shot in Sydney, and both films were shot there, and it was both. I got to work on both 2 and 3, and that was quite amazing.
See.
It gave me an appreciation of. Just sort of demystifying big budget films.
Did you have demystifying?
Yeah, because basically that was my first feature film. My first feature film was probably one of the biggest, which was Star Wars.
First time you ever worked on anything. Did you have Wicked of Oz at that time?
Not at that time, no.
Oh, you were just doing this on your own? How did they find you?
Actually, I have a friend who works for ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, in San Francisco. So
is that right? That's how they found you?
Yeah, well, he basically ran the department, so he said I was one of the first people they hired, which was fantastic. He rang me one day and he said, how would you like to be one of the very first Australian R2-D2 operators and builders? Yeah.
And so now your history, your character still lives on.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Yeah.
What else? So then the next thing?
Well, then I basically went on to do a couple of smaller films, but also worked on Charlotte's Web with Dakota Fanning. They shot that in Australia as well. And then, but I pretty much, and it was after Charlotte's Web I started Wicked of Oz, because I felt that I needed a company to kind of create some of these effects.
Who Justin Dix is, right?
Yeah. Well, it's also to create a bit of a brand, like Weta,
a brand, yeah.
So
what is Wicked? How'd you get Wicked?
Well, I just started it when I started getting jobs. I tend to do a lot of horror films now, so a lot of the lower budget horror films, and I do like horror. It's fantastic. Well, just that's what we do. And
that's right. That's your job.
It gives you a lot of creative freedom. And we ended up doing just a hell of a lot of horror films that started coming through. Well, pretty much most of the ones that came through Australia, especially Melbourne.
So it was a takeoff on Wizard?
Yeah.
Did you create the word? I mean, decide that's what it should be?
What, The Wicked of Oz? Yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah. Well, and also And from there, we ended up. The thing is, special effects makeup company, possibly one of the worst businesses you want to start in Australia, because there isn't a huge film industry in Australia.
Right.
So it's actually, there's not a lot of work to be had.
But you've worked with the top people.
Yeah.
So how? I mean, they have to come to Australia for you to work with them. Is
Not
that
necessarily. No, not necessarily. But at the same time, what I decided to do is, I'm also a script writer, and so I've been writing scripts.
Right.
And then what I ended up doing is figuring that, okay, well, I've got a special effects makeup company. To keep that company busy, I better make films. So that way it can service my company. So
Okay, so then, now you've brought us into Crawl Space.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
which you wrote, produced,
Yeah.
directed.
Storyboarded,
Sorry,
special effects makeup supervised.
did it all.
Yeah. What
You
else?
didn't
A few
act
other
in it,
things.
though.
I wanted to.
What happened? The director wouldn't let you?
I'm not pretty enough.
The director wouldn't let you in.
Yeah. So no, that was essentially. I've got a lot of scripts, and I've come to LA a few times, but they're all really large projects. Big, I think you call them tent poles. Big, really. And so I had to start thinking a lot smaller and contained. So I took all of these big ideas and just put them in a really small space, and that was the Crawl Space. So.
And that was the Crawl Space.
Yeah, and essentially that it came to a. It came about really quite quickly. We got a lot of people involved quite quickly. We raised the money quite quickly. It all just happened very, very quickly, which was fantastic. And we had an amazing time on the on the shoot.
But do you think it all came quickly because you knew the business, you knew people
Probably,
in
yeah.
the business, you knew? I mean, tell the story.
Well, I've helped out a lot of people over
That's
time
what I mean.
on a lot of different films, even on no budget films to really low budget films to big budget films.
So it all comes back to you.
And I felt that I'd had a lot of favours saved up for
Yeah.
me. So when it came time for my film, I called in all those favours. So.
Which is great,
And I
because it's an
haven't made-
award winner. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
being shown in Cannes.
Well, we showed it. We actually
showed it?
it's been in the last Cannes market, and that's where we sold it pretty much worldwide. So it's getting released by IFC Midnight on the 4th of January in America, which is great. Like, not many Australian films, to be honest, actually get a sort of a theatrical and VOD release in
I
America.
know.
They don't. They just.
And you wrote it for location in Australia?
Well, actually, it's all shot in studio. Every single part of it was shot in a massive studio, because they say the cheapest film to make is in one room, right, just to have.
And that's what you did.
Well, my room was a really big studio, and that's it. So I just kept everything in that studio. We
but
built
you
16
kept her.
sets.
You kept the woman or the girl in this crawl space.
Yeah.
And then how'd you do all these special effects? What were they?
Well, we pretty much did special effects every single day. So without giving away too much, because I don't want to give away. any
Oh,
plot
we have to
details.
hear some of it.
But we've got exploding heads, we've got exploding people, we've got skinned gorillas, we've got dog attacks, we've got
and you have to make
mutants,
all those
everything.
things.
Yeah, we make everything.
How
And,
long did it take you to do all that?
It took about 8 weeks to build
That's
everything.
all?
Yeah, we got a pretty good team. I actually took on a lot of students as well at the same time.
Oh, that's great
So,
teaching, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we want to. First of all, we need to breed the next lot of film.
Yes, that's smart,
Because
yeah.
if I'm going to keep directing and keep writing, I can't do all the work all the time.
No,
so I
but you
more
need to
people.
teach people too what
Yeah,
your
it's kinda like
skills.
passing the baton. So, and realistically, in Australia, again, there's not really many courses to do. So we thought, well, we'll take on students on the film. And that way, they not only learning, but they're also getting a feature film credit straight away.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So are we bringing Wicked to the U.S.?
Yeah. Well, that's the plan. Well, is it the plan? I'm not sure. I'm coming to the US. I'm coming because this is if you're basically in the stock market, you move to New York. If you're in the film business, you move to LA.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Justin Dix, for being with us today. And thanks for watching. We'll be right back with Matthew McCray. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with producer, director, actor Matthew McCray, who was born in Virginia and raised in Colorado. He studied theater and music at Chapman University. And as an actor, you've seen him on the boards at Boston Court, the Red Cat Theater, Musical Theater of the West, and Son of Semele, where he's the artistic director. He's been featured in films and on TV shows, and he's produced over 25 plays for Son of Semele. And you've taken home an ovation for that animal farm. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's one of our earlier shows for Son of Semele. We started the company in 2000, and in 2002 we produced this musical adaptation of Animal Farm which I think the cast was 14, and they were all on orthopedic crutches.
Oh, you're kidding.
So,
oh,
because when you're
yes.
playing a horse, you can't just walk around.
I remember reading
there's a lot
that.
of, it was a
Yeah.
full body experience, full
Right.
mask.
Oh.
But still, it's it's a musical piece. So you're singing, and you're in this kind of, angled, raked position for 2 hours. And it was a very grueling production, but very satisfying, and people really responded to it, and it led to that Ovation Award.
Was it at that theater?
No, it was before we got our own space.
It
was at the
was.
McAdam Place Theater in Hollywood.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it a bigger space? Was it bigger than what you have?
Bigger than our space.
Yes.
It was about 60 or 70 seats, but the stage was quite larger than our space.
The stage was larger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which was
because your
helpful because
stage.
when you go on four legs, they're
That's-
twice as big.
That's what I thought. You take up more,
take up
more
more
room.
room.
Tell us, how did you decide to start a company?
A couple of my friends from college got together and decided after college that they were just not working enough, and they wanted to be more active with their careers, and were not getting the opportunities. So we pooled our money together, produced a show, and it kind of snowballed into a company. There wasn't an outright decision to make a company.
Oh, it wasn't.
But after one or two shows, we went, well, what are we doing here? And let's keep doing it, and let's call it something. And it snowballed into being a theater company.
Well, tell me what Son of Semele is.
The son of Semele in Greek mythology is Dionysus, who is the god of theater. And his mortal mother was named Semele.
Oh, that's why.
So he is the son of Semele.
Okay,
so it's
so
kind
we
of a
have
play on words.
S-O-S-E.
Yeah.
And now you have your own space.
And we have our own space, Beverly and Hoover, where we produce 2 or 3 shows a year, and we also have a guest production program where we sponsor other like-minded artists. And it's pretty active.
You have it's a little corner where you are.
Mhm.
There's a nice blue neon.
It does have a blue haze, yes, from the neon sign out front.
It does.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's on all the time.
Yep.
Every time I drive by, it's
Yep.
on. And it's not far from the Bootleg Theater where you're working at the moment.
Yes.
And tell us what you're doing there.
The Bootleg Theater, which is one of my favorite spaces in Los Angeles, so I feel very privileged to finally be working there. It's a new play by Patricia Scanlon called Death of a Sales Girl, and it's starring Patricia Scanlon and Paul Dillon, and they have never worked together, but they are quite a pair.
But you'd worked with Paul Dillon before.
Well, he had done a piece at my theater, but I wasn't involved with that. But that's when I first learned of Paul Dillon.
I see.
And went, whoa, who is this guy? He's really powerful.
He's very powerful, isn't
Yeah.
he, when you see him?
Yeah. And when Patty, the writer and star in Death of a Salesgirl, brought me the play, and I read it, I immediately thought of Paul Dillon for this
I
role.
see.
So then I showed a little bit of Paul to Patty via the web. She was really excited about him, and we met with Paul, and it kind of grew from there.
This is something a little bit different because there's so much interdisciplinary effects to
Mhm.
it, I would say, right? Video and animation
Mhm.
and sound.
Yes.
Explain some of those things and how you've come to work with it.
The environment is alive in this piece because it's somewhat of a cerebral piece. And so the magic that happens on stage is not only sort of magic from the context of an action, but also the environment has its own magical qualities. And so we're using video as well as some tricks within the set and within places on stage to keep a sort of heartbeat within the environment.
That
and
just gave it me the sound design.
Yeah, and there's the sound design is a very it's a soundscape. It's a score for the whole piece.
I see.
It's a very design saturated piece, and it's integrated. So the actors have to interact with the animation, interact with the media in a way that makes the media feel more vibrant and alive.
Well, you're talking that media turns out to be a character. So
Yes.
do you have to direct that? Are you directing that as well?
Yeah, we shot all of the video, the two-dimensional characters, I like to call them, had to open about a week before we opened because we had to shoot them so that we could then place them on stage in a way that we could integrate with them. So
are they actually figures?
there's actually full-body characters on stage. Well, there's one, sort of two. on stage that occasionally interact with the live performer. So it's a two-dimensional, three-dimensional
And is that a video that's going the whole time?
No, there are multiple cues that fire throughout the show, and it keeps the video. It's always a challenge with the video to not shoot something that then you have to keep it exactly the same.
That's what I was wondering.
Where it kind of dies.
Yeah. What do you do?
Well,
is there a screen?
There are no. All of the walls of the set are surfaces on which we use as screens.
I mean, they're your screens.
There are multiple triggers within the show. I don't know how many, maybe 50 or 60 triggers that cue up different video sequences that allow us some flexibility within the media, so that the actors aren't, robots. They can actually have flexibility to really give the illusion of having moment-to-moment work with the video.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Have you done that before?
Yeah, I met the
video. You did?
Yeah, the video designer and I go back about 3 or 4 shows, and it's something that he actually had introduced to me in a previous show, in our first show that we worked on, and then we have used it since in various ways.
Tell us about the bootleg. Is it a black box?
The Bootleg Theater is this wonderful 99-seat black box space near Beverly and Alvarado, and it has there's multiple spaces in it. Some of it is for music, some of it is for theater, and they schedule things kind of back to back in a way that creates this real great synergy between the various mediums of music and theater. And the theater itself for this show, we've paired it in actually because there's sort of a claustrophobic tone to the Death of a Salesgirl. Is it the small theater
or the big theater?
We're in the big theater, but we're only using a small portion of it to give that feeling of kind of being closed in.
It has a stadium seating?
Stadium seating, it's rake seating, so when you're looking at it, it's almost like when you're in one of those movie houses or something, you can see everything around you.
But it doesn't have a stage?
The stage is on the floor, yeah, so you're looking down on the stage.
Is it raised?
Nope, the stage is paired in.
It's on the floor.
It's below you, so you kind of have a little bit of a God's eye on
And then what
stage.
happens with the acoustics?
The acoustics of the space it bounces great. You can hear just about anything. And the sound design kind of comes from all over the place. There's surprising things that happen in the piece sound-wise as well.
So that's the lighting we're talking about. Mm-hmm. The lighting is part of the video, part of everything?
Yeah, with this piece, I got to work with Adam Fleming is the video designer, and Francois Pierre Couture is the lighting designer. And I don't know if they've collaborated, but the three of us haven't ever worked together on something, and it was so wonderful to work with a lighting and video designer that enjoyed each other, because they kind of have to collaborate in a way that other designers don't have to.
Yeah, that's right, because they're working on
with light.
With light.
Yeah.
So what does Francois Pierre do?
He's the scenic designer and the lighting designer.
So he did the scenes. So he did the set.
He did the scenic for the set, which is one location but with some surprises, and then he also did the lighting, which the lighting is sort of mounted within. In a lot of plays you see the set and then you see the lights that kind of give this. They illuminate it primarily from the front often.
Right.
It's flat. Because he was doing both, it really allowed him to bring the lights into the set. So there's a lot of lighting from little pockets and corners of the set that give these wonderful shadows and sort of nuanced experience. Like the tone of it becomes very, very intimate because the lighting gets very intimate.
Does he Does he put lights at different spots?
Yeah,
not just from the ceiling like we're used to seeing.
Yeah. I'd say about maybe half the lights are in the places where you would expect lights, and about half the lights are hidden in little pockets in places you don't know that they are there.
Oh, so that's what creates a different kind of illusion.
Yeah.
And that works with the sound and the video.
Really helps
and
with
the actors.
Video. Yeah. The actors have to, and when we were staging out the piece, they had to, go 2 inches forward, because that really did have an effect on this little fixture that was being blocked. So it was very, because we paired it in and we made the stage smaller and we brought things into a really, really delicate and nuanced place. There was a lot. The tech was a really challenging tech week.
Where do they enter and exit?
They don't.
Oh, okay. Because with a box like that, sometimes the lights go out and they're right there, or they come in from behind the audience.
Yeah, there's one extra character who comes in and goes out, but primarily the two actors, Paul and Patty, are on stage for the whole piece, and it's almost like a wrestling match or something.
and
You
then
just
you-
see them kind of working off each other in wonderful, wonderful ways.
And you bring in all these other characters via
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, yeah.
Very, very good. Okay, you're an actor too.
I am.
Can you? Could you act in one of these kind of things?
You know, I never have acted in a piece that uses video in these ways, but I did. I was in an opera with Olan Jones a while back, and I have been in more multidisciplinary pieces.
But Olan Jones doesn't use video, does she?
She did in that opera, but not in this way. It was more like a separate element as opposed to an integrated element.
Yes, yes. You mean
Yeah.
on the wall, or
Yeah.
And what was the name of the opera?
That opera, I've done 2 with her, and the first one was called Songs and Dances of Imaginary Lands, and it was a roaming opera with promenade-style seating where you went from place to place. There were 21, I think it was 21 sets throughout this warehouse where you visited
yes.
these imaginary lands.
Fabulous.
The second piece was called Woman in the Wall.
Right.
It was produced at the Culver City Masonic Lodge, and it was a wonderful medieval piece. I played a priest in it, and seating in the round. It was a very intimate opera.
And the music was great. David O.
David O. Yeah, David O. did both of
Conducted?
those actually.
Oh, he did conduct both of them?
Yeah, and he's a genius.
So was there video in that?
Not in The Woman in the Wall. There was some video in the
other
in
one.
the other,
I see,
yeah.
I see, I see. And you've sat on a lot of panels. At
Yeah.
You've sat Cal Arts.
I've done some panel work at Cal Arts, and
What kind of work? What
well,
is the subject?
The students actually brought me up to talk about what it was like to create a theater company.
Oh,
And
that's
I think a lot of students, not unlike myself, graduate and wonder, well, maybe I'll just do it on my own,
I know.
as
it's-
opposed to being one of many.
I see.
And very smartly, they brought up, I think, 3 or 4, maybe more than that actually, founders of theater ensembles in Los Angeles to talk about their experience of creating a company, the challenges of it, would they
right.
recommend doing it again, what would they
Right.
do differently. So
Well, I'm so glad that you came and told us about
thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
it. Thanks, Matt. And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Email me, JAQUINN1 @AOL.com. See you next time. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.